So Krabby, what's your origin? Oh, me? Well, I'm based on a crab from another dimension. What about you? Oh, that's cool. Well, for me, I'm based on a beaver. Oh, cool. What about you, Arceus?
Oh, hahaha. I was born before time itself even existed and created all of what you see.
So, a llama, right? So lame.
You're lame.
What is going on, guys? This is Dobbs here, bringing you another Pokemon video. And in this video, I want to go over the backstories and origins of 10 unpopular Pokemon. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video, and without further ado, let's get started. Raging in at number 10, we have Ninetales. Now, ever since Pokemon Sun and Moon revealed Alolan Pokemon, many of the Kanto variants have been overshadowed by their different typing counterparts. And even though Alolan Ninetales is currently holding the spotlight, its backstory isn't as interesting as its Kanto relative. You see, Ninetales is based on a Japanese legend known as the Kitsune, a long-living fox whose fur turns into silver gold and becomes optimate once it gains its 9th tail. And because of this inspiring origin, Ninetales was given a considerable role in the first Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game, which one could argue that this role could give Ninetales legendary status. Now, according to legend told by a wise Wishcash, those who touch the tail of a Ninetales will become cursed for 1,000 years. And in this legend, a trainer challenges his power and crudely grabs the tail of a wild Ninetales. And in return, he was given the destiny that he would be reincarnated as a Pokemon 1,000 years later. So knowing this, can you guess who that Pokemon was? No, it wasn't you, but it was none other than the Gengar you faced while playing through the game. And something that I found very interesting was that Gengar was given a Pokedex entry in Sun and Moon that states that it was once a human, which could be a little reference to the Ninetales legend that happens during the Mystery Dungeon games, which is pretty cool. Ringing in at number 9, we have Bronzong. Now, Bronzong has never been a Pokemon that really stood out to me, but surprisingly enough, it has one of the most interesting backstories. You see, Bronzong is based on a Dotaku, a Japanese bell that is preyed upon for good harvests, which in itself could explain the many Pokedex entries about Bronzong spawning plentiful harvests and why it is able to learn Rain Dance. Not only that, Bronzong and its pre-evolution Bronzor are both said to be inspired by an old Japanese myth that included a few priests that wanted to build a Dotaku for their temple. According to this myth, these priests instructed the local women to donate their bronze mirrors so that they could smelt them in order to build this bell, which is what Bronzor is, a bronze mirror. As the story unfolds, one woman regrets donating her mirror to the bell, and in result of this, she tells the townspeople that whoever could break the bell will be given a small fortune. However, none of the townsmen could lay even a scratch on this bell, and after countless days of trying, the priests declared this bell as unholy and threw it down a hill and into a swamp, which explains why Bronzong was discovered underground. It was thrown off a cliff and sunk into a swamp, which to me is an awesome backstory for a Pokemon that I didn't think much of. Stinking in at number 8, we have Trubbish. Now, Trubbish is usually marked as a Pokemon where Game Freak stopped caring, but after doing some research, I found out that it's actually the complete opposite. There is indeed a cool meaning behind this laughable Pokemon. You see, it all starts with the 2 ears that Trubbish has on his head. At first glance, most people would just assume that these ears are based on a knot of a trash bag. And even though that's true, there is but a second meaning behind these ears. As a matter of fact, these ears are a reference to a dust bunny, which technically makes Trubbish a bunny Pokemon. Not only that, Trubbish and its final evolved form Garbodor both complete the pollution trifecta. While Grimer and Muck represent the sea pollution, Coughing and Wheezing representing the air pollution, Trubbish and Garbodor represent the land pollution. It's something small but still pretty interesting for the Pokemon Trubbish is. I also go more into detail about an interesting theory that involves these pollution Pokemon and Ditto in my best Pokemon Backstories video. So if you want to check it out, be sure to look in the description after this video. Growing in at number 7, we have Chikorita. Now, ever since the original Pokemon games, the Grass-type starter has always been the unpopular pick, and for Chikorita, there was no exception. But interestingly enough, out of all the starter Pokemon, Chikorita probably has the most interesting backstory in terms of game development. You see, during the early stages of Pokemon Gold and Silver, Chikorita was the only original starter Pokemon that made it to the final game, because unlike most generations, 2 of the starter Pokemon that appeared in the beta versions were both straight up replaced by 2 completely new Pokemon. Originally, the water starter Pokemon was Karusu, a seal looking Pokemon, and the fire starter Pokemon was Hanaguma, a bear looking Pokemon. So if these changes never happened, this is what it would have looked like for our Generation 2 journey. Which to me is pretty interesting, not to mention that Chikorita is based on a pear. How much more inspirational can a Pokemon get? Pointing in at number 6, we have Nosepass. Now, Nosepass has always been a Pokemon that looked very strange to me, but as it turns out, it has a compelling reason to why that is. You see, according to his Pokédex entry, Nosepass's nose functions almost identically to a compass and can be often found pointing due north. And even though it sounds like this Pokemon was directly inspired by a compass, it instead derived from a bone known as the ethmoid bone. Found between our nasal cavity and brain, this bone is said to be linked to the reason why birds are able to sense the Earth's magnetic field, which explains why Nosepass has an oversized nose and why it's always pointing due north. And for the reason why Nosepass has human qualities is because it's based on the Moais of the Eastern Islands, which is all pretty interesting for a strange Pokemon that Nosepass is. Sparking in at number 5, we have Ampharos. Now, Ampharos arguably has the most controversial Mega Evolution in the Pokemon games, but interestingly enough, there is a good reason behind why it's a Dragon-type Pokemon. You see, during the beta versions of Pokemon Gold and Silver, Ampharos was stated as an electric Dragon-type Pokemon. So, if you thought it was strange that Mega Ampharos adopted the Dragon-type, think again, because not only did it have this dual typing long before, but it was also hinted at in his Japanese name. Known as Denryu in Japanese, this name is a portmanteau of the word Den and Ryu, which in English means electric and dragon. Not only that, but its pre-evolution English name Mareep is also a portmanteau of the words Mary and sheep, which is an allusion towards the nursery rhyme Mary Had a Little Lamb, while being an anagram of the word ampere, which is a unit of an electric current. It's pretty impressive how Game Freak included so many little Easter eggs in this evolutionary line. Even the entire concept behind these Pokemon were based on a short story, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Which to me is an awesome backstory for an underrated Pokemon. Slashing in at number 4, we have Keldeo. Now, for the longest time, Keldeo has been one of my least favorite mythical Pokemon, but as it turns out, it has a really interesting backstory and origin. Starting with his origin, Keldeo is based on a shape-shifting water spirit that usually takes on the form of a horse known as a Kelpie. Not only that, but Keldeo is also inspired by the character D'Artagnan from the novel The Three Musketeers. And just like D'Artagnan, Keldeo was the latest and youngest member of the Swords of Justice that appears in the 5th generation of the Pokemon games, which is connected to Keldeo's backstory. Originally, Keldeo was a weak Pokemon that was abused by humans and also lost his home due to an epic fire. After being saved by the 3 legendary Pokemon who formed the Swords of Justice, Keldeo was taken in as a 4th member and was trained into becoming a more powerful Pokemon while also adopting a new form. On top of all of that, Keldeo's tail is also somewhat reminiscent of D'Artagnan's signature and trademarked feathered cap, which to me is an awesome origin for a mythical Pokemon that I never really thought much of. Exploding in at number 3, we have Voltorb. Now, out of all the original Pokemon, Voltorb seems to have the most boring design. But like you've probably guessed, this inspiring Pokemon has an interesting backstory. As is stated from his Pokédex entry, Voltorb was discovered when Pokeballs were created and is said that there is some kind of connection. So after reading this, it's quite obvious that Voltorb is just a reanimation of a Pokeball. But my question is how they became Pokemon in the first place. Well, there is this theory that suggests that Voltorb is a Pokeball that has a Haunter possessing it, and the reason why Voltorb is always mad is because Haunter is trapped inside, which to me is a solid theory, and I just want to use this opportunity to add a little more to it. For instance, since Haunter is a Pokemon that evolves when trading, I theorize that during the trading process, a glitch happens in the PC and ultimately traps the Haunter in the Pokeball. And after being trapped in his Pokeball for so long, the Haunter finally comes to terms with it and evolves into Electrode, which we can all agree on is a Pokemon that shares a similar personality to Gengar. Let me know in the comments on what you think the true origin of this Pokemon is. It's pretty interesting. Teleporting in at number 2, we have Unknown. Now Unknown is infamous for being the Pokemon that can only learn one move, and because of this is normally thrown away as a useless Pokemon. And even though it seems like a lame Pokemon at first glance, its backstory is probably one of the most interesting in the Pokemon lore. Now, a Pokemon fan known as Voice Rocker on Cerebi.net came up with a compelling theory about the true origins behind Unknown. In his post, he theorizes that Arceus' great power is manifested in the Unknown, and that these small creatures serve as the building blocks of the Pokemon universe. He also points out in the 10th Pokemon movie, The Rise of Darkrai, every attack dealt by Palkia and Dialga sent a group of Unknown flying, which, according to Voice, could be evidence that the Unknown are what make up the fabric of reality, just because of the fact that these attacks were distorting time and space. He then concludes that it's mysterious that Unknown can only learn Hidden Power, which is a move that can be of any type, something that's really similar to Arceus and his plates. Which to me is an awesome theory, and I also believe that Unknown were involved in the making of the Pokemon universe. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Splashing in at number 1, we have Magikarp. Now we all know that Magikarp isn't the most popular Pokemon when it comes to battling, but as it evolves into a powerful Gyarados, it embodies an awe-inspiring legend. You see, Magikarp is based on a Chinese myth that takes place on a legendary mountain that is home to the Great Dragon's Gate. And on this legendary mountain, there is a river full of carp that swim upwards against the powerful current of the stream. And out of all these carp, those who are capable or brave enough for the final leap over the waterfall will be granted the ability to transform into a powerful dragon. Which is why Magikarp, an incredibly weak fish, transcends into a powerful dragon-like Gyarados, which is my all-time favorite Pokemon backstory and why I put it as number 1 on this list. And there you go, 10 unpopular Pokemon with interesting backstories. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a like if you did, I appreciate it a ton. And also, if you're enjoying the channel, be sure to subscribe. And if you want to follow me on Twitter for fan interactions, video updates, and other cool stuff, follow me at Ethan Dobbs. And for the question of the day, what unpopular Pokemon do you think has the best backstory? Be sure to let me know down below in the comments. I can't wait to see what you guys have in mind. And I'll see y'all next time. See ya.